Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective, those watching on X and Instagram, and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's Lund Unleashed and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Brought to you by 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿Cosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. I hope you were doing great. It is episode 120. Wasted. Not that Logan Webb was wasted while he was pitching. He had a performance that was wasted. 6 innings pitched, as you can see, 12 Ks. We did bottom of the pint, and they got nothing offensively against Tyler Anderson and crew for the Angels down in Anaheim. I'm not concerned. They're 13-7. They're 20 games in. We're halfway to being able to evaluate this whole thing, but Logan Webb is great. He's been their only starter who consistently has been. So got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Good morning, good morning, good morning. A little bit late this morning. I apologize for that. We're getting a bunch of stuff together. There's a ton of stuff. And as I was saying last night during Bottom of the Pint, there's just too long of a period of time from Friday to Monday to be away from you that long because there's so much going on. And with the Warriors tomorrow, and I'll do a post game for the Warriors on Sunday, we'll be doing 7 days a week. We are on X this morning at John Lund Radio. We are on YouTube, Lund Unleashed. Please make sure if you're on Lund Unleashed and you're in the chat room, and we'll check in with everybody in just a second, that you are subscribed, you have your alerts on, and please give us on this show a thumbs up in all shows. That helps the algorithm find us, so that is absolutely great. And then Bay Area Sports Collective. I believe they made the announcement yesterday, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's my show is on there, Lund Unleashed. My former KNBR mates like Tom Tolbert. Tolbert is there. His show, Polymac Particles, and Creative Tony. Those two guys, they've got a great show. And we're adding Rod Brooks and Quality Hang. So 4 so far, and we'll keep adding shows as we keep on going. But Bay Area Sports Collective, if you're a Bay Area sports fan or not, it's just great shows. Make sure you go over there and give that one a follow, a like, and hit those alerts on that one as well, both on YouTube, Bay Area Sports Collective, and Lund Unleashed. And thanks for hanging out with us today. If, again, you are on X and you're watching today at John Lund Radio, please consider that and come on over to YouTube and say hello to everybody in the community. All right, lots of stuff going on. If you joined us yesterday or last night, it was Bottom of the Pint with Larry Krueger and I in the Krug Show. And we did that through the Giants game. And as I said, Logan Webb's effort wasted. 6 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts. And I said, they got to get better. Pitching's got to be better. Pitching's got to be better. Pitching got to be better. But I also know, and we'll get into this today, that it is not sustainable for them to be where they are in the NL West or in the NL standings at all, looking for a wild card potentially, if they cannot win the right way. So we'll get into that reason why. Webb wasted episode 120. You look at the chalkboard, 3 guys offensively are carrying the Giants. I don't know what they're going to do with Wade Jr. It's too bad that 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐿's going to go on IL, it looks like. Roop and Verlander the next 2 days. Golden State and Houston, I told you what the key is and did a little short thing on it and a short video as well on what the key is. There's one key stat in this whole thing, but there's a couple other things I want to get to as well. The owner of the Suns is Matt Ishbia. He's a former player at Michigan State. Billionaire, and Stephen A. Smith was stupid and called him out and kind of apologized. And this is the way an owner should be. And I think this is really interesting. The way that he responded to a question about Screamin' A and calling him the worst owner and comparing him to Donald Sterling. This guy just started, and he answered the question in such a perfect way that it really makes people like Screamin' A look so stupid. And I don't know why ESPN pays him $20 million. I can't get to the remote control fast enough the second I hear him say anything, or if I'm on social media and the headline starts with Stephen A. Smith says, I can't get off that particular post fast enough. So I don't know. There's a lot of people different from me. I know that they're not targeting me and those kind of things, but in a just very controlled way of a response, and it wasn't a rude response. It was actually a perfect response. This is what you want your owner to be, and you're probably not a Suns fan listening, but I just thought it was a great response. And it also goes to the point of whether owners want to win or not, which I want to get into that whole conversation. And Krug asked me that during Bottom of the Pint, because we obviously got into some Niners with with draft and all that stuff coming up. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing stuff when people don't know what the hell they're talking about, even though they're people that people think are credible. So we'll get into that conversation as well. Last mocks, there's one guy, I know that Kelvin Banks was a guy I said I didn't really like, but this guy that keeps getting mocked to the 49ers, I want to explain something. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Random stuff happened throughout the show, and we have actually a couple of CABOOSE pistols last night. Plus, we're going to hear from Clay Thompson. I forgot to put that up on the board, but in media, sometimes you got to ask questions that you don't really want to ask, but you have to ask. And I thought the question was, I don't know if I'd call it fair, but it was a question that probably needed to be asked. And Clay is Clay. Everything on the surface. We talked about Clay. I can't remember if it was yesterday or day before. Clay is Clay, and we know that. And he's going to give you a 100% honest answer. Or if he doesn't like a question, he's going to tell you, but he's going to do it in a way that's not going to embarrass you. He's just going to be real about it. So anyway, stick around for that. So we got a ton of stuff to get to today, and I apologize that it was a little bit late this morning on a Saturday. No excuses, being late, bottom of the pint, all that kind of stuff late last night. It's no big deal. 49ers diehard says, yes. I haven't done a lot of those screams. It was funny when I was doing it on 95.7. People loved it. I went over to KNBR and they're like, we're KNBR. And then I did it for a while and they didn't like it. And then so I would just wait for special occasions for that. Top of the morning to you, Helibed. Sup, Joe Schmo. Good to see you, my friend. Pine Needle. Good to see you, Pine Needle. I know Pine. I get a little bit frustrated as well when we're talking baseball and we go straight to draft. I get it, but I love Krug to death, and he is draft 100%, 24/7, 365 when we get to this point of the season. So just is what it is. But I thought we did a good mix because it was a boring game outside of Logan Webb being great. So we were throwing up a bunch of different stuff. Jake, it is really, 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 really good to see you today. Sorry, I needed to get it. I should have gotten that up last night or this morning. And so sorry about that, but my fault 100%. I was late on that, bringing everything back. Let's see what else we got. Daniel, it was great to see you this morning. Who else we have this morning? Great to see everybody. Happy Saturday. Thank you for making the time on a Saturday. Maybe it's your only day off or whatever, and you're running errands or you're doing stuff around the house or whatever it is you're doing. But thanks for making the time for us this morning. We really appreciate it. Remember, if you're new around here, please come into the chat room and say hello. You can have a differing opinion. I don't know anything. I've just been doing this for a long time, know a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, and I might know a thing or two just from the people that I talk to. But believe me, you don't have to. I don't think I know everything, and I think that differing opinions are great. It's one of the few places in America that you can say that. So thank you for coming in today and making time. All right, let's start with Logan Webb. We've been talking a lot when it comes to the Giants in the last couple of days, and it just kind of seems to be coming to fruition. I said, and I saw this, and I love Sean Estes, by the way. He's just an amazingly cool guy. And so I was watching pregame yesterday in preparation for Bottom of the Pint, our show that Larry Krueger and I and the Krug Show do on Fridays for Giants games, and we drink and have fun. By the way, I got to quit eating peanuts on those nights because I'm like, I got to have beers and I got to have peanuts just like I'm at the game. And there's like peanut not shells, but whatever it is, that stuff around them. And it's like on my keyboard and like everywhere. But anyway, I digress. So I was talking about starting pitching, and I was saying, look, the way the Giants win, and I love this start, and they're after a great start, and I think this is a good baseball team. But I said it's an illusion that they're going to win at this level because they're doing it scoring 6, 8, 10 runs a game, and they're not getting good starting pitching. And that's just not how the Giants win. And we all know that. If you're a Giants fan or you know anything about baseball, because of the ballpark that they play in, they've got to pitch, play defense, and get timely hitting. It's not about scoring 6, 8, 10 runs like they've been doing, and then the starting pitching struggling. So as of a couple of days ago, I didn't check this morning, but the starting pitching ERA was third to the bottom. The relievers had the second best ERA behind the Padres. The big thing that sticks out is, well, this is great. It's just not sustainable. They were third in runs scored behind the Cubs and the Yankees. And that's not the way that they're going to win games. It's great that they're doing that. Don't get me wrong. And they're a good offensive team, actually, on the road. And even last year, they were a good offensive team on the road, hit the sixth most home runs. I've said these things again and again and again. But last night, then, Logan Webb pitches his ass off, ties a career high with 12 strikeouts in just 6 innings. It was phenomenal. He gave up a couple of early runs, got settled in, and that was it. That's a great pitching performance by him through 6 innings. The bullpen was fine, didn't give anything up, but they couldn't get the key hit last night. That's going to happen, but it just further drills home my point, which is they're not scoring 6, 8, 10 runs, and 2 runs should be enough. Like, you give up 2 runs, you're going to win 90% of those baseball games. So it was just one of those nights. And so I'm not saying that's going to be the norm, but what I am saying is, as we go for the next 2 days now in Anaheim against the Angels, Landon Roop goes today, which to me is a very important start, because I'm not saying he's been bad. He had, I think last time out, he had, off the top of my head, he had 20 swings and misses, 20. So that curveball was rocking and rolling. He was pitching well. Verlander to me, and this is where I was going with Sean Estes. Sorry, a little ADD there. Sean Estes was saying before the game a stat, which I love stats and I understand analytics and it's cool and it's great. And most of them, I get it. But he was talking about expected ERA. And he said that Justin Verlander's ERA, which is 6.75, has an adjusted or expected ERA of 4.65. And I just don't buy that shit. Like that stuff I just don't buy. Like your ERA is what your ERA is. You can't assume that someone's going to make a defensive play. You can't assume that what should be an out. Expected ERA means that play should have been made defensively or this, whatever. And you just can't do that. There's too many variables in baseball. Plays that should be made aren't made, whatever. All these different things that the computers say should be done and aren't. I don't buy that. So that's one stat, one analytical view that I don't agree with. Your ERA is your ERA, and that's not a perfect stat. I understand that. But it does tell you where your pitcher is, and 6.75 is not acceptable. So he'll probably get 10 starts, Verlander. His velocity's been really good. Some of his stuff has been really good. That's what expected ERA is based on too. I understand that. But to me, and you'll learn this about me if you don't already know it, I'm just a bottom line person. So either you're successful or you're not. Either you make plays or you don't. Either you're pitching well or you're not. Like exit velocity, it's going to come around. Not necessarily. It's like roulette. People say, well, if it's been, if it landed on black 10 times, it's bound to land on red. No, it's not. It's not. It's arbitrary, the whole thing. So it could go black 25 times. It could go red 25 times. It doesn't mean because it's gone one way 10 straight times that it's due to go that way. It's not. Every spin is different, and it's individual. It's not. It just doesn't work that way. So to me, the way that they're going to win, the bullpen's been great, and I think the bullpen is absolutely going to pitch this way the rest of the year unless they get overused, which was the case last year. I think the bullpen's going to be fine. I think defensively, if you look at them across the board, they're a good defensive team. I don't think that that's going to change. But they've got to win baseball games with starting pitching and timely hitting. And last night, they obviously didn't get the timely hitting, and they got the starting pitching. That's a one-off. If they give up 2 runs, and if Logan Webb pitches like that in a certain night, or Verlander, or Roop, or Hicks, or Ray, they're going to win 90% of those games, just 2-run games. They're going to do that. They're going to score enough runs. Now, having said that, all right, so we just talked about the starting pitching. Now, having said that, let me just throw this down for a second. They got to do something here. I know it's unfortunate because Casey Schmidt might have finally gotten a shot, but he's going on the IL. He was supposed to play yesterday, hurt himself before the game, and they had to throw in Lamont Wade Jr. I'm sorry, 52 at-bats is not a season. It's probably 10% of the at-bats that he's going to get. So if he's awesome the other 90%, I understand that. But right now, and I said this about Verlander, if he gets to 10 starts and he's still struggling like this, you got to make up an injury, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You have some sort of a strain or whatever the case may be, and you got to take the guy, and in this case, Lamont Wade Jr., and go to the cage. Because it's not that he's just hitting 0.96 for a guy who gets on base, and he's never going to be a power guy or anything like that. But he is so far off in his at-bats. Like, you're watching these at-bats, they're horrid at-bats. He's taking fastballs right down the middle. He's confused on pitches. He's swinging at pitches out of the zone, which he doesn't do. He's clearly pressing. He needs to go on the injured list for 10 days. I don't care if it's David VR, who's been up here a million times, and he's a 4A player, clearly. Anybody's going to be better than 0.96. Maybe not you or me, but still, any professional baseball player is going to be better than 0.96 at this point. And it's the at-bats, to me, that are scaring the hell out of you. Because you're watching the at-bats, and they're just not Lamont Wade Jr. at-bats. They're not good. So I don't know. Has he got something going on off the field? I have no idea. Is he just struggling in general? I don't know. 52 at-bats is not much, but it's like having a pitcher in your lineup. These are non-competitive at-bats. And so to me, he's got to go on the injured list too. Like, I understand with Casey Schmidt going on the injured list, it's not the best time to have him go on there too. But bring up David VR, bring up somebody, like, I'm not saying Bryce Eldridge, because Eldridge is still in Arizona, rehab an injury and everything else. But they got to do something, because you can't have this guy having the at-bats he's having, because it's not only the numbers. If you watch the damn game, which I'm very fond of that phrase, if you watch the damn game, the guy's having non-competitive at bat after non-competitive at bat. Nothing personal, dude. It's just something's wrong. Something's wrong. It's in your head. It's in the swing. It's the way you're seeing the pitches. It's all of those things combined, and he can't continue to play. I don't care. This is the bad news because 𝐃𝐨𝐲 would add an opportunity, and as Susan Susser said, strained oblique, which is not great, in the hitting cage right before the game. So timing-wise, is it great to say to Lamont Wade Jr., sorry, dude, you're going down 2? No, and they probably won't. But they've got to figure something out. If that's Flores playing first base and then rotating the DH position to who needs some time off, if Patrick Bailey needs a blow. I know he's not hitting well, but still, I'd rather have him in there than Lamont Wade Jr. Does Adames need a day off? Chapman never gets a day off, but you want to do that. Whatever the case may be, whoever needs a blow and just needs a quick day off. Lee could use it. Coming back from the injury, what's his situation? I mean, I'm sure he's fine. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 Lee. Mike Yastrzemski's hitting well, so you might want to keep him in the lineup. And he's a good defender, but still, somebody who needs a day off. Luis Matos, you maybe haven't had him get some at bats in a while. Get him in the DH position and put Flores at first base. Whatever the case may be, Lamont Wade Jr. needs time off because they're not only are the numbers bad, the at bats are terrible too. So there's that. Roop and Verlander, as I pointed out, I think these next 2 starts are really important. Roop has not pitched poorly. It's just, and he's a number 5 starter. So number 5 starter is a complete wild card. And I understand that. Your number 5 is like, you're going to rotate 5s in and outs. Most teams in the league are not going to just have 5 that just boom, 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 boom. Like I think Seattle had it last year where they just had the 5. And I think Brian Wu, Bay Area native, was their 5 starter, which was just ridiculous. He's a really good pitcher. But most teams, I'd say 90, 85% of teams, they're going to have a floating number 5 starter. And that's kind of what the Giants will do. Although I like Landon Roop, I just want to see what he can do because, as I consistently say, I want to see Hayden Birdsong in the rotation. He hasn't been a reliever a lot in his career. He has a little bit here and there, but I mean, in terms of this is his role, long reliever. And I think he's just better served because he's done it his whole career as a starter. I think he would be better as a starter. I think he would really be good. And his stuff is nasty, and he's ready. And mentally, he's strong. I've talked to the kid. I don't think anything phases him. He's a flatliner. And so I think if he got into the rotation, he'd be really, really good. So that's why it's important. Verlander's not going anywhere because of his name. Roop doesn't deserve, he deserves to be in it. I would be watching Hicks at this point. Ray's walking too many guys, but there's nothing I can do about it. But if somebody stumbles, if somebody falls, if somebody's not putting good starts together and they're taxing the bullpen too much, I got to see what Hayden Birdsong is sooner rather than later. Because I got a feeling, and I know you only want to play certain cards at certain times. I get it. You don't have to throw all your cards out in the first 50 games of the season. But he's too good to be used here and there. He's just way too good for that. And if your starting pitching is struggling, and obviously last night it wasn't, but if there's somebody in the rotation struggling, it's kind of what I said about Lamont Wade Jr. You take him out. You say, I got it. They got an injury, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and you just go work on a couple things. There's no problem with that. To me, I understand that Verlander's is going to the Hall of Fame, and there's no question about it. But if he struggles again, if he struggles tomorrow, if I'm the Giants, I'm not waiting. Like I don't have time to wait around in this division. It'll come around. Well, the Dodgers aren't waiting for you, and the Padres aren't waiting for you. And guess what? Arizona's not waiting for you. They're good too. So those teams are not waiting for you. And by the way, because you're not going to win the division, and you're not, then that means that the other teams, like you're competing against a bunch of other teams in the National League. So let's wait for Justin Verlander to come around. How about no? How about put him on the injured list for 10 days and work on some mechanics and whatever? I know it's not mentally with him. I think Lamont Wade Jr., there's some mental issues there. Justin Verlander's confident. It's not that. It's just maybe there's just something small that he needs to work on because you can't have, and I don't care what his name is, you can't have a guy with an ERA hovering around 7 and Hicks is over 6 and Robbie Ray's walking 15 guys in 19 and a third. Like you don't have time in this division to screw around. And I know it's only 20 games, but the only reason I'm saying this with the amount of urgency that I am is because the Giants are not a bad baseball team. This is a team that can make the playoffs. But you can't wait around. And I get it. Bob Melvin's a veteran, so he's going to wait for his veterans to come around. And I would not be saying this if I didn't have a guy, if the Giants didn't have a guy like Hayden Birdsong, who I think is a potential really good pitcher right now, not next year, right now, in the rotation, knowing that he's going to go every 5 days and get his work in between. I don't know this for a fact, but I've talked to players about this, that what his role right now is difficult. And that's why a lot of times it's a veteran kind of a thing, not a young guy kind of a thing, because he doesn't know when he's going to pitch. He's got to mentally be ready all the time, and he should be, and I get that. But a lot of guys in any sport, they want to know their role. No matter what they do, it could be the NFL, it could be hockey, could be whatever it is. What's my role here? Now, your role is to be ready all the time. I get it. But it's much easier to go, okay, I'm pitching every fifth day, or I'm in the starting lineup, or I'm hitting third, or I'm hitting ninth, or I'm, whatever. Or, I'm in Steve Kerr's rotation. This is what I do. I know when I'm going in. Like mentally, it's just any athlete will tell you that. I'm totally not athletic, but I've talked to enough guys and been around long enough. They want to know what their role is. And right now, for Hayden Birdsong, your role is long guy. You may not pitch this entire series in Anaheim. You might pitch a really key stretch for 3 innings. I can't tell you. That's why a lot of times, like I said, veterans do it, not young guys. And I think Hayden Birdsong would be much more effective as a starter, knowing every fifth day when he's going to pitch. And I think he'd be great at it. So if anybody's stumbling, I'm not waiting on Justin Verlander. Sorry. I'm not waiting on Robbie Ray. Like if he can't get his control going, 15 walks and 19 in the third, you're not giving your team a chance to win. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are winning and the Padres are winning. Arizona's game was crazy against the Cubs yesterday. They didn't win. But still, you cannot sit around and wait in the NL West. You can't sit around and wait in the wild card chase. We'll just give them a couple more weeks. The wild card race is going to be probably within a couple of games. You can't wait a couple of weeks to see if your starting pitching is going to come around when you've got a kid like that sitting around who I think is going to be really, really good. I could be wrong. So give me your thoughts on the Giants. The only reason I'm leading Giants today is because it just was on my mind from last night. We had a great time with talking some baseball. By the way, did everybody see this? I'm not going to use this. What am I going to use for CABOOSE pistol today? I'll use a basketball one. All right. Did you see this last night? Logan Webb. He's just like all of us. Farts are always funny. You probably saw this, but here's Logan Webb talking about his gym, trying to be serious, but then something happens.
And on our show for at least 4 outings with
I'm sorry.
At least 4 outings with 10 strikeouts and no walks. What does it mean to you to be in that list with those guys?
I'm sorry guys. Farts are always funny. I'm not gonna lie. It's anytime you're in a list.
He couldn't get it together. So there's a fart out in the distance there. It must have been the locker right next to him, and he just couldn't get it together. That's kind of Logan Webb too. He's kind of a fun-loving guy. Hasn't fully grown up, even though he's the leader of the pitching staff and everything. What's Logan Webb? 28, 29. It's not like he's a young guy anymore, but he just couldn't put it together. He was trying. And then they're asking about a serious question. What does it feel like when you're putting together such a start like that? He's like, I can't do it. I can't stay with it unless you didn't hear it.
And on our show for at least 4 outings with
I'm sorry.
At least 4 outings with 10 strikeouts and no walks. What does it mean to you to be in that list with those guys?
I'm sorry.
Parts are always funny. What does it mean for you to be in a list with Bumgarner? He's like, sorry. Can't stay with it. All right, that is farts are always funny. I mean, 100% of the time, not 99, not 98, not 90, not 60, not 50, 100%, 100% of the time. And my wife would probably walk in right now and go, God, you're so sophomoric. You're so immature. Because it's not, I don't even think they're funny 25% of the time to women, but to guys, they're 100% of the time funny. 100%. I agree with you, Pat. It's just, like I said, every time people see him out of the pen and he doesn't pitch well every single time and people go, oh, he's not ready. It's a totally different role. And he's been a starter his whole life. And I'm just sitting there. And look, I'll be 100% transparent. I'm looking at the stuff. I'm looking at 98. And I'm looking at the ball diving and all this stuff. But here's the other thing. Because I've talked to him on a few occasions. And I've had a sit-down interview with him for like 10 minutes. And then before that, I even talked to him off the air. And, how's things? And tell me about you growing up. And he's just, the kid for his age is incredibly mature. And it would not faze him one bit to walk into a rotation. And he could give up 6 in an inning, and he would have the same look on his face. He's ready. He's ready. And so when you look at this starting rotation, which as of a couple of days ago had the 3rd worst starting pitching ERA in baseball, and you have a kid that is that good and has that much potential, bad word, but still potential, has that much, then I gotta find a way, because I keep saying this and it's true. In this division, let's just start with a division before we start talking about the wild card, because that's the way that they think. They're not thinking, well, we're giving it up to the Dodgers, they're going to win it, and we have no chance. We're just, you've got to think right now, early in the season, just 20 games into this thing, we can still win the division. You have to think that way. You can't think, well, let's just give it to the Dodgers and play for second place. So with that as your mindset, you can't sit around. You just know this division is too good. This isn't the NL Central, or this isn't a division where, you can win 88 games and win the division. That's just, you've got to think to yourself, we got to win in the 90s. It's going to be hard getting a wild card, let alone winning the division. We can't sit around and go, his name's Justin Verlander. Sorry, he hasn't done anything here. He was a great Tiger. He was a great Astro. He hasn't done anything here. So you got to wipe that name away and say, look, we respect you, but you're pitching to a 7 ERA. I don't care if your expected ERA is 4.65. I don't care about that. And Jordan Hicks, it's great that you pitched the other 6 innings and gave our bullpen a break day before, but you gave up 5 in the first innings, bro. The game was over at that point. So there are opportunities there. Robbie Ray, like I said, I don't think they're taking Ray out of the rotation. He's been good a lot of times. He's just kind of hit a skid as far as the walks are concerned. I expect him to bounce back from that, but I'm keeping a close eye on my rotation, because my relievers are getting it done. My defense is getting it done. Last night aside, my offense, for the most part, is getting it done. I'm not getting the starting pitching I need. They did last night. I get it. But for the majority of the season so far, the Achilles heel on a team that is a really good team so far has been starting pitching. And I have a kid sitting right there who I can say, hey, Justin, love you. Let's just give you one start off. I'm not saying tomorrow. Let's just see what he does. Or Robbie Ray, let's get your mechanics. Clearly with Robbie Ray, it's just mechanics. Something's going on, and I'm not an advocate of right now pulling Hicks out. Like I said, I think he should be a reliever. That's his strongest suit. I think Birdsong's a better pitcher than him right now, but I understand giving Jordan Hicks a chance. That's fine. He pitched his first outing. He was great. His last couple have not been really good, but I can't sit around. This is not Little League. I cannot sit around and say to myself, these guys will come around when I have a guy that good. That's all I'm saying. All right. What else on the Giants? Because I'll move on to the Rockets really quickly here. I didn't think we'd see that term today, but that's a good term. I like it. I don't know what's going on with Wade, man. I just think it's a mental thing with him. I really do. He needs a couple days off. And I know it's not a perfect time when you have Casey Schmidt, looks like, as Susan Slusser said, going to the injured list. But he's hitting $105, and the at-bats are terrible. Just friggin' terrible, man. That's just how it is. Hello, Ernesto Ron. I've not seen you. Anthony, good morning to you. Daniel, did I say good morning to you this morning? I think I might have. Very, very cool. Oh, man. Did we get it? I don't know if we got it this. We can move on to the NBA now. NBA Countdown on ESPN is a rough watch no matter what they throw at it. It's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who the producer is. I don't know what their thought process is. Any show with Screaming A. Like, the only person worthwhile on that whole thing is Malika Andrews does a great job. And then Bob Myers is tremendous. And then, you know what bothers you is when Bob Myers is talking and he's speaking truths and giving you insight. It's what I like to call, bullet points that you can use later on with friends. Did you know this? Do you know that? Like, I learned nothing from Screaming A. Nothing. Entertainment value wise, some people really get into it. I just like to learn something and be entertained at the same time. I love Inside the NBA. I know that they're not watching every game and they don't break it down. I get it. So I understand the entertainment value of that. But Screaming A is like this when Bob Myers talks. Like, in other words, I just want to talk. I'm not listening to anything you say. You're not giving me anything. I just want to talk because it's my thing. And so when he's not talking, he just looks so disinterested, and there's no chemistry. They've never had any chemistry, no matter who they've brought on those shows. And it's impossible to not find something that works. Like, it's hard to find. Stay with me on this for a second. It's really hard to find chemistry in those shows. And so when you find it on Inside the NBA, or Corso's leaving now, College Game Day, but that still is a really good show with a lot of good chemistry and fun and information. But it's hard also to go years and years and years and years and years and years and years like ESPN has and not found anything that works. From the lead host when they had like Michelle Beadle and they had, and Sage Steele, and like They've tried everything. And then they had 𝐼𝐸 on and off, and they've had Michael Wilbon on it, and they've had Jalen Rose, who I'm not a fan of, and didn't they have Magic for a minute too? I mean, they've got Mullen was on it. They had so many renditions of the show, and they've never hit. Not once. Like, they've never hit, and that's really difficult to do. So they must have gone through multiple producers, because there's no way ESPN would keep the same producers on the show, knowing that they just can't pick out the right talent that works together. And I don't know what it is. And they're paying 𝐼𝐸 so much, they have to put them on there. And Kendrick Perkins, the same thing. So they have two jackasses on either end that are just there to stir the pot. And then you have Bob Myers, who I got to believe Bob's about the end of his rope, because he adds so much to the show. And I'm not saying him alone. Like, Bob is kind of funny. He's dry in that way. And we used to have him on shows all the time. Pop and I had him on for a couple of full seasons on 95.7. And he's a great guy. A lot of times he says nothing and says a lot. It's amazing that he can do that when we're asking him like particular questions. But what I'm saying is that information wise and saying, hey, I was a GM and this is how it works. And he just adds so much, especially in the playoffs, and what the mentality is of a certain team and how difficult it is. Like the other day, and I played this for you, when he was talking about how a coach needs to win now and is like a day trader and a general manager is thinking long term. I mean, it's such great insight stuff. But then the other guys on the panel don't give a shit, and they don't even care. They're not even paying attention. They don't even work off it, because the only thing they want to work off of is LeBron or something controversial, or making up a list, or here's what I think of that. It's just like God, man, I get it. Like every once in a while you got to do that, but can you mix it up? Can you throw more than one pitch? Like all those guys have is a fastball. Like mix it up a little bit. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying, like, they have never gotten it right on those shows. So anyway, all right, let's get to the Warriors and the Rockets. Before we do that, let me play a cut from Klay last night, just because I think that you would enjoy this. And I've been there. I've been in these locker rooms after tough losses and had to ask questions. And I think this is a fair question, but I also think it's fair that the way that Klay responded. So the question, if you can't hear it, and I think you can, but I'm just going to give it to you anyway. The guy asked Klay Thompson, does he regret his decision coming to the Mavericks? Because a lot of people thought he was going to go to the Lakers. In fact, his dad did. Michael Thompson said it many times this season that he thought Klay was going to the Lakers. So here's the question, and here's Klay's reaction.
Now, would you have made the same decision coming to Dallas last summer?
Don't do this. Don't do that to me. Don't do that. That's kind of a ridiculous question, because like I don't own a time machine, and I don't believe in looking back. If I did that my whole career, I would not be where I'm at, and I wouldn't have been able to persevere through 2 really hard injuries. So I'm here in Dallas, and I enjoyed my time, and I'm looking forward to.
I mean, obviously, if we could all go back a million times and all the decisions we made, and we could redo and undo and all those kind of things and have this perfect life, we would all do it. We all have regrets. Klay Thompson would have went to the Lakers instead of the Mavericks. I don't think there's any question. The reason he went to the Mavericks, and this is well chronicled, is that Luka Doncic called him and just said, hey, man, we want you. We need you. They had just gone to remember last year, Dallas went to the NBA Finals. And so they were looking at Klay Thompson and saying, this is a piece that we need. We need outside shooting. And that was their team. They thought that they were going to go back and win the NBA Finals or get back to the NBA Finals. And Klay Thompson was like, man, I got to go to the Lakers, and there's a bunch of pressure there. And that's just not Klay's deal. And maybe because he played for the Warriors all those years, and even though he's from Southern California, it's like, oh my God, then I got to go to that. And what are the Warriors fans going to think? Like, that's the way Klay thinks. So he thought it would be an easier situation for him, and with a really good basketball team that had just gone to the NBA Finals with Luka Doncic, who's a generational player and was going to get him the basketball, like Steph Curry would, but even better, to be honest with you, just from a pure point guard standpoint. And he was going to be able to shoot threes, and really the defense was going to double up on Luka, and he was going to see open looks. That was his thought process, and do it in Dallas, which, by the way, because he was getting paid lower, Texas has no state income tax. So there's a 13.3% raise on that, or it's even higher now. So that was his thought process. I get it. And then somebody says to him, and I think it's a fair question, do you regret it? Because maybe he gets the answer he wants, which is, yeah, I probably should have went to the Lakers or whatever. But then I like how Klay did it too. I like how Klay just went, man, that's not fair, because he's right. But it's a question that I'm sure, and then what we try to do as reporters in those situations is think what a viewer or listener wants. And to me, I would like to know whether, and maybe at some point, not fresh off a loss and an end of a season like that, Klay may say something, because that's how Klay is, or his dad would probably come out and say, yeah, Clay's told me that he made the wrong decision. And Michael's coming out a ton of times going, I thought he was coming here. And it would have been a great situation for him too. I don't know how much he would have played or anything like that. Like, he knew Luka was dishing him the ball. He was going to start. He was going to play. No state income tax. Like, it made a lot of sense for Clay to do what he did at the time. I didn't question it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And now you have a dumpster fire of a season and a bunch of injuries, and ownership is weird, and people are ripping on Nico Harrison, the general manager. So, yeah, I mean, given retrospect, yeah, sure, Klay Thompson would make a different decision. And that's kind of what he was alluding to there. Is like, it's obvious right now, but I thought it was a great answer. I don't have a time machine, bro. Like, I don't know. Let me see. So that's one of those situations where I totally understand the question and I totally understand the response. And that's sometimes just what you have to do. I couldn't agree more with this too. Like, pre and post game shows are hard, not hard in terms of the content. You just study and you work. I've done tons of pre and post game shows for different NFL teams and NBA teams and all those kind of things, but it's chemistry. And sometimes when they stick you with somebody, you don't have any of it. You just don't. And yet what sucks about it is you have, in the case when we used to do the Niners, I mean, we had like 3.5 hour shows before the game and then like 2 hour shows after the game. And I loved doing with like Kruger, for example, because I knew that Krug was completely prepared for the show and you could say anything or do anything. And we had great chemistry on those shows. And we would pop in Tim Ryan and Papa and all this. And we had great chemistry on those shows. I've done other shows in other cities where I was just like, God, I got to do this with this guy every single night. And a lot of it came down to I just didn't trust his preparation or her preparation. And it was like, well, can I ask them this, or will they expose them if I say this or do that? Or so, yeah, I don't care if it's a radio show or a TV show or a YouTube show or ESPN or TNT or whatever. And it's just like your personal life. And I've said this before, like, you go out on a date or something, and within 2 minutes if you have any kind of chemistry or not. It's the same way. It's totally the same way on all these studio shows. And it's hard for these producers because I know them. Just, they put together this show and they run all sorts of, they don't just throw them on the air. They go behind the scenes and they do all this stuff. Just like Tom Brady this year and Kevin Burkhardt, they were doing shows. They were doing play-by-play in preseason and people didn't even know it. They were doing fake stuff down in studios in LA and New York. They were doing tons of it to try to build that chemistry. And there's chemistry that I've, with people that I've had in my life where it's like, I'm doing this show and I was like, God, there is just chemistry here. This is working. And about other shows where I was like, oh my God, like, this show is never going to work. It's just kind of how it is. As far as the Warriors and the Rockets are concerned, I gave you the numbers yesterday. I can pop them up if you weren't on the show. I'll do it really, really quickly because I want to move on to a couple of things in regards to this series that I would like to discuss. But let me get to, so this was yesterday. I talked about this yesterday. So offensive rebounds, Houston's number one at 14.6. Second chance points, and this is where the series is going to be won or lost. You look over here, Rockets, 18.1 second chance points per game. That's what they do. They get extra possessions. I mean, that's just what it is. They get extra possessions. And we know with the Warriors, as you can see right there, opponents second chance points, the Warriors it's been a problem for them. So I do think that Kevon Looney, and I said this to somebody last night, and they're like, oh, everybody loves Quentin Post on the offensive end. I understand that. I think they're going to trade Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason for a stretch big who can also defend and rebound. So Quentin Post, it's great that you can shoot. It really is. But I don't know if we'll see him a ton in this series. Now, we might, but I think it's going to be a Looney series. And I tell you this all the time. It's series to series depending. Looney could play let's say they beat Houston. Whoever they play in the next series, Looney might not play at all just because it just doesn't really match up for him. Whereas in this series, because he's clearly the Warriors' best rebounder, and the Rockets are the best rebounding team in basketball, especially on the offensive glass, that I think their best rebounder is going to play a lot of minutes. Now you're giving up things on the offensive end. You're giving up floor spacing. You're giving up the shooting of Quentin Post, all those kind of things. You have to give up something, but I do think it's just that important that they rebound well and keep Houston off the offensive glass, which gives Houston extra possessions. Houston actually has the most field goal attempts per game in the NBA. And it's not because of anything other than they get second chance points, offensive rebounding. Şengün is really, really good at it. Amen Thompson from the backcourt. Şengün, I think, his averages almost 4 offensive rebounds a game. Amen Thompson averages about 3. So he's really good from the backcourt doing that. So that's one of the big keys. And then the other big key is Houston switches everything. A lot of teams do, but they switch everything. And one of the things that happens to them because of that is that they tend to give up some 3-point opportunities to other teams. And I know that one of the things the Warriors are working on right now is if look, they're going to double Curry. They're going to do this. They have a great coach in 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿𝐫, who we know that coached against the Warriors in the 2022 NBA Finals. So this is a good head coach. It's a young basketball team by and large. I know Van Fleet is there, and the irritant that is Dillon Brooks is there. But this is a good head coach who's going to have good game plans. But one of the things they've done during the season, and they're going to need to shore up, and I'm sure they're working on, is with all the switching, guys can get lost against Houston, which is a good thing for the Warriors, and pop open for open threes. And if that's happening to Steph Curry, which it didn't in the 106-96 loss in April, I understand that. But I do think, and Amen Thompson played a tremendous game, and he's a really good defender. Like, I think the first team all defense, Draymond Green should be on it. Amen Thompson should be on it. Dyson Daniels from Atlanta should be on it. Like, there's some really good players, but Amen Thompson's big, long, not big, but he's long. He's 6'7", he's long, and he's going to defend Curry. But a lot of times with all their switching, the Warriors can get their matchup by switching, and then sometimes all of a sudden there's a guy that's wide open. It didn't happen in that game, but that's not going to be, to me, indicative of what this series is going to be all about. So it's going to be the Houston switching on the defensive end. They're a good defensive team, and it's going to be about offensive rebounding for the Warriors on the other end. And then to me, it's also going to be about, guys who are stepping up in the playoffs, because we don't know. Fred VanVleet, I know, can step up in the playoffs. The only role that Dillon Brooks has in this entire series is to irritate Draymond Green. Get Draymond Green off his game, get Draymond Green some technical fouls, get Draymond Green kicked out of a game, and Draymond Green has got to be smart enough, and he has been in the regular season, I'll give him credit. He'll go after an official for a minute, and much better than he has in the past, he'll just leave it be at some point. He's going to get frustrated. He's going to get irritated when there's a call against him he doesn't like, and he's going to, make his voice be known. Dillon Brooks will be right there. He'll be standing right there and chirping at Draymond. So Draymond's going to be going against the officials, and he's been going against Dillon Brooks. And he's going to look at Dillon Brooks like, you're not part of this, but Brooks is going to make himself part of it because he wants to irritate Draymond Green to such a level that he gets a double tech and get kicked out of the game. That is his sole purpose. Because generally speaking, as Draymond Green has said in the past when he was with Memphis, like, they're relying on you to be something, and you're just not. So I'll give it up to Fred VanVleet, who beat the Warriors thanks to the basketball gods and the injuries, but you got to give it up to him. Toronto won a championship. He was part of it. Outside of that, because I don't respect Dillon Brooks as a veteran player on a team. I don't count him as that. He's not a positive in that way. Amen Thompson is young, and Jalen Green is young, and Alperen Şengün is young. How will they respond to the playoffs? That's the biggest question to me, is everybody's kind of, looking at this series as a 6 and 7 game series. I think the Warriors in 6. But the more times you give the Rockets, a young team, to experience the playoffs, the worse it is for the Warriors. I want them to, you want this series to be over like 5 games so that they can't really get their footing, because the Warriors have it. And to me, I know that Steph Curry is a massive key. I think he's going to do what he's going to do. I don't care what Amen Thompson did to him last time. I think he's going to do what he's going to do. This comes down to Jimmy for me. Is Jimmy going to get to the free throw line a bunch of times? Because the other thing is, even though Brooks is an irritant, he's not guarding Draymond Green, and Draymond Green is not guarding him. Draymond Green is going to be concentrated on Şengün. That's the matchup of the whole series. Can Draymond Green stay out of foul trouble? Can he keep Şengün off the boards? That's why I think Looney's going to play a lot, because Draymond Green is much better as a floater and doing these things. I think that the size of Looney and the rebounding of Looney to keep Şengün off the boards is going to be more his responsibility, which then leads to, if Green and Looney and Butler are on the floor together, 3 not great shooters from distance, and then it's Podziemski and Curry potentially, or whomever, or Moody and Curry, or whatever they're going to do in the backcourt, those guys have got to be banging shots. And then Jimmy Butler's got to be going to the rim and doing all the things he does. But if you have to rely on Looney to be on the floor a lot, and you might have to because of the rebounding ability, and especially the offensive rebounding ability of the Rockets, you give up something on the other end. Green's going to play. Looney's going to play. Butler's going to play. That's 3 guys who, from distance, you're not digging on that. And I know that Draymond's gotten better from 3, and I know Jimmy said he can shoot from 3, but I don't want him out there. I want him doing what he did, by the way, in the play-in game, where he caught the ball around or outside of the three-point line, and then he went to the rim. And he got fouled a bunch of times. He went to the free throw line 17 times, I think, off the top of my head. It was great. Didn't hit him at the level that he normally does, but he still, That's the kind of thing that's going to get the Rockets. So anyway, there you go. There's a bit of a preview series. What do you think are the keys to the series? Who are you watching? What do you think of the series? I want to get out and ask you about that because there's a cut, and you're like the Suns owner, who cares? But I'm going to play this thing from Matt Ishbia, and it's the reason I'm going to play it after I check out some of the comments. The reason I'm going to play it is I tell you all the time that an owner, it's not all about winning for these owners, and it's a financial thing for 90% of these owners. And Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, wants to win, but it's the way he answered a question when he was asked, because Screamin' A basically lumped him with Donald Sterling. He actually said he was going to be one of the worst owners in sports, and he lumped him in with Donald Sterling. This is a guy who's owned the Suns, like a year and a half, maybe even less than that. And so he responded in a really professional way that shows you why this guy is successful. But it's also kind of what an owner should be is what he gets into this tangent about. And I couldn't agree more with him. So, hi, Joe. I don't know. I don't know if JK is going to play, bro. I just don't know. Now, surface-wise, you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, he's really athletic. And the Rockets are really athletic, so there would be a place for him. But if there's not a place a week ago against the Clippers, if there's not a place in the play-in game, and the numbers say, the analytics say that he doesn't play well with Jimmy and Draymond in three-man groups, then when's he going to play? And I said this earlier. The way he's going to play is this. Steve looks down his bench. They're down 15 to the Rockets. They're playing like shit. There's no energy, and he looks down his bench, and this happens all the time in the playoffs. And you say, well, we need a spark. Let's see if Kuminga can give it to us. Not that he would normally be, that he's set to be in the rotation, because I don't think he is. But you look down your bench and you say, look, we're getting killed. We don't have an athlete. We're not having energy. Let's get him in the game. There's either that, so that's a desperation mode, or there's foul trouble, which potentially could happen. So there's foul trouble. And he looks down the bench and says, okay, this is not normally what I want to do, but there's 2 quick fouls on Jimmy, or there's 2 quick fouls on Draymond, or whatever the case may be. And Jonathan Kuminga comes in. But here's the key to the whole thing. If he looks down his bench in desperation and puts Kuminga in, or if he looks down his bench and there's foul trouble and he puts Kuminga in, Kuminga's got to be great. And that's a ton of pressure on the kid. But essentially, Steve early in this series may say, okay, you're going to get one shot. You're going to get one shot. And if you got it, good. If you don't, that's it. You're back to the bench. So he's got to have the mental, and I don't know if Jonathan Kuminga does, he's got to have that mental capability where he says to himself, when I get my shot, I'm going to kick ass. Versus hell with the Warriors. I can't wait to get traded this offseason, because he's getting traded this offseason. Because Jimmy Butler's got 2 more years left on his deal, and Draymond's got time, and obviously he's not playing well with those with those guys, and the numbers bear it out. So now here's Steve Kerr saying, well, the numbers say what they say. And look, whether you agree, whether I agree, whether you disagree, whatever the case may be, that's just the way it is. I don't see him in the rotation because I haven't seen him in the rotation. And even though this is a really athletic Rockets team, he's not a great outside shooter either. And what he does is what Jimmy Butler does, but Jimmy Butler does it better. And so that's where the quandary lies. And Steve Kerr said it the other day on the radio. He said that exact thing. So I don't see it unless it's a desperation mode or there's foul trouble. And then Jonathan Kuminga's got to go in there and smoke it. I mean, he's got to go in there and roll. And then they'll say, okay, because there are matchups for him. You know, Jalen Green is a hell of an athlete. Amen Thompson is a hell of an athlete. I mean, there's places for an athlete in this series. There's no doubt about it. But it comes down to, and this is the biggest word in the playoffs, impress your friends with it, trust. Do you trust Jonathan Kuminga? Do you trust Jimmy Butler? Do you trust Steph Curry? Do you trust Draymond Green? Well, he does. He trusts Draymond Green. He trusts Steph Curry. He trusts Jimmy Butler. He trusts Brandon Podziemski. I know that. He trusts Moses Moody. Does he trust Jonathan Kuminga? Doesn't seem like it. Because if he would have played in game 82. And if he would have played in the playing game. And I agree with, and I say this all the time. It's about matchups. So there are matchups in this Rockets series that he could be a part of. But here's the problem. He hasn't the biggest thing in this series to me is rebounding. And Jonathan Kuminga, for his size, is not a great rebounder. Could he be? Yeah. He's 6'9". He's got long arms. He's a great athlete. And I've said this before, and I just want to reiterate it one more time. You're going to see Guy Santos in the game sometimes in this series, and you're going to go, Kuminga's better than Santos. And I agree with you. Kuminga is better than Santos. But I made this comparison the other day, and it's just what it is. The job that is open, okay, the minutes, the rare minutes that are open in this series are for a garbage man. So Guy Santos, get on the floor, get a rebound, get us an extra possession, because Houston leads in getting field goal attempts off, and the reason they do is extra possessions that they get for themselves. That's what they do. They're really good at it. But what does 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿 do? He gets on the floor, he rebounds, he hustles, he's dirty, he's gritty. The Warriors, that's the job that's open. So there's a job description, and Steve Kerr is like, we're hiring for a gritty player. Is Jonathan Kuminga a gritty player? No. Is 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿 a gritty player? Yes. And that's the job that's the job that is open. And that's not the job that Jonathan Kuminga does. So Kuminga's better. Kuminga's a better player. But the job description that is open right now is gritty, get us an extra possession, rebounder, tough guy. And that's not Jonathan Kuminga. So he's fallen behind in the pecking order of Santos even. Which, look, on the surface, you're going, that's stupid. I get it. That's stupid. But that's the job that's open. And Kuminga doesn't do that. So I think he'll get a shot in this series because there will be foul trouble. There might be a sprained ankle. There might be a low energy day. Hell, it might be tomorrow where Houston just right out of the gate is just on fire. And they might be because while there's no James Harden around and no Chris Paul around and none of that stuff, that's what the fans remember. And they're going to walk in that building tomorrow, and they normally would be because it's a playoff game anyway, and they are going to be fired up, liquored up, ready to go. Because they're going to see the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to see Steph Curry, and they're going to see Steve Kerr, and they're going to see Draymond Green, and they're going to be all over them. Even though all the players are different from Houston's standpoint, they're going to be all over the Warriors, and the energy is going to be through the roof. And so if the Warriors don't match it, or if whatever, foul trouble, Draymond Green, whatever the case may be, loses his mind, Kuminga will get a chance, possibly. But he's got to be balls out. And I don't even mean scoring wise. And that's the other misconception with Kuminga. What Steve Kerr sees through his eyes to what Jonathan Kuminga should be doing versus what we think he should be doing. So we look at Jonathan Kuminga's success as like 20 points. And that's not how Steve Kerr sees it. He might get 8 points, but he's going to get 6 boards and plays great defense and moves the ball because sometimes the ball sticks with him. He moves the ball. He grabs 6 or 7 boards, which is huge in this series. And maybe he gets 8 points, but they're points where he went to the rim, drew a foul, did the right thing, made the right play again and again and again on both ends of the floor. And all of a sudden, Kuminga's back in the rotation, not because he scored 20, because they got guys who can do that. It's all these little things that I'm talking about. Why Santos is playing. He's on the floor. He's diving. He's getting rebounds. He's playing tough defense. He's being physical. That's why he's playing. Not that he's better. It's a better fit. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, but believe me, you watch the game and you go, are you sure that 00 sitting over there on the bench with his sweats on can't help in some way, shape, or form? It's crazy. Let's see. Hold on a second. I had something. Oh, there we go. Good morning, Papa J. Please like and subscribe to both channels. That's John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and the Bay Area Sports Collective, which just added Rod Brooks and Quality Hang. So make sure you hit us up on both, John Lund Unleashed. Hit us up with those likes, which helps the algorithm, which is good. People find us and also have those alerts on as well. So good morning. I want to make sure I say hello to everybody. Hi, John Joseph. I don't know if I said hello to you this morning. Is it 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿? Lamont can't play the outfield. He's a liability and shuffling. That's right. He did used to play the outfield on occasion. Yeah, he can't anymore. I don't know what they do with him. I know that 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐲 hurt, but I just he needs some time off. Does Lamont Wade Jr. You can't hit 100. Like the Mendoza line's 200, and that's terrible. Like what's 100? And it's only 52 at bats. I get it, bro, but man, it's rough. I mean, those at bats are rough, man. It's not just that he's not hitting. It's just like, whoa. Hi, Anthony. Did I say hello to Anthony? Johnny, baby. Let's see what else do we have here. All right, let me play this for you, man. This is really cool. And I know that you're not a Suns fan or anything, but I like to bring some things to the table that you might not have seen. Maybe you saw this, maybe you didn't. But what I'm trying to convey to you here is, number one, and we talk about Screaming A all the time, and I thought it was, say whatever you want, but remember, dude's an owner of the team. He's we don't know what he's going to be. But he explains something here, which is the financial side of things, and not all owners want to win, and I tell you this all the time. But he also explains all these other things that he thinks is important as an owner, which I think is really interesting. So anyway, the origin of this, and I don't know if I have the question in there or not, is Screaming A went on TV, and again, to just get shock value and people like me to talk about what he said. said that Matt Ishbia is already one of the worst owners in sports. And he puts Donald Sterling's name in there, the former racist owner of the Clippers, and I wouldn't have been this nice or this gracious. But listen to what Matt Ishbia of the Suns, how he responds to it, and also what he thinks are important, the traits that are important in being a professional sports owner.
We didn't win a championship. I think you probably said about almost every owner ever. But, yeah, we had high expectations and we didn't win. We spent a lot of money and we didn't win. Yep. Yeah. Be critical of me on that, but to even say that kind of stuff, like I said, that's just, I think, like I said, he'll apologize. I think he was out of line, and I think he knows that. I don't think he really believes that. With that being said, like, what is a great owner, right? Like, my job, like I'm definitely not shooting. You don't want to see me shoot or play or coach. Like, what am I supposed to do? And my job is to provide resources so that when my GM, my front office, my coach want something, want a player, like that, I say yes. I don't focus on profitability. I focus on winning. I focus on the community. I focus on the fan experience. And so I focus on those things. I think that's what makes a great owner. I think if you ask people in Phoenix, they probably think I'm a great owner. The TV, all the games on TV for free, like that's a big profitability hit, but we led with that. I walked the concourse and realized the concession stand prices are crazy, and we lower the prices. Like that's what I think a great owner would do. Investing in the Mercury, $100 million practice facility, like that's kind of what I think a great owner would do. Community. We brought the WNBA All-Star Game, bringing the NBA All-Star Game. We put millions of dollars into the community, doing a lot of things. Like I think that's my role. Now, let's be clear, winning is part of my job too, right? But there's a lot of things a great owner would do, and to even put me in that category, I thought was disrespectful. And like I said, all
right. So excuse my French for a minute. That is a great fucking answer. That's what an owner should do. And I don't know if he's going to be successful and win, but so many times, and this is why these ESPN shows during the day are so short-sighted, win, 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 win. I get it, man. All those other things we a lot of times don't see behind the scenes, but this guy did do all those things. In Phoenix, and I lived there years ago, and they used to charge like $9.99 to watch a Phoenix Suns game, and it wasn't like that. But what he's saying is he took things from cable and he put them on regular TV, and so Suns games are free now. That's a big thing to a fan. He said he walked the concessions and he lowered concession prices. That's big to a fan. Whatever you think about the WNBA, they've had a lot of success down there with the Mercury. He funded a $100 million facility for his WNBA team. He gives back in the community. He does all these different things that people don't even think about or care about. He gets kids to games. Now, he's got to win. That's his number one job, or people are not going to like him, and he understands that. But he tried. He made a trade for Kevin Durant. Didn't work. Kevin Durant's going to get traded in the offseason. They're probably going to have to start over. He understands all those things. But then Screaming A comes out and says he's the worst owner in sports. And what he was referring to again and again was he mentioned him with Donald Sterling, a friggin' racist, man. One of the worst owners in the history of sports, not only from a winning and losing perspective, but just as a human being. The guy's a piece of shit. And you comp me to him? Now, he was a lot nicer than I would have been, and that's where he is. That's why he is where he is, and I am where I am. I would have called somebody out and said a lot of negative, bad things about him and probably burned bridges and everything else. You don't have to like the Suns. That's just an awesome answer because we don't think about that. We don't think about all the things I'm sure that Joe Lacob wants to win. But one of the things he said, and this one of the reasons I played it, was he used the term profitability. A lot of owners don't do those things. They're not giving away games on TV. They're not lowering concession prices. They're not putting $100 million into a WNBA facility because they treat it like a business. A lot of them. And I tell you this all the time because we have this misconception in our head that all owners want to win. They don't. They like owning the team. They like bringing their friends to games. They like being the center of attention. They like getting the trophy when they hand it to them. They like all these things around it. They like impressing their friends. They're big, look at me, look at me, look at me. I don't know if you're watching the new Jon Hamm show on, I think it's on Apple, but it's basically he loses his job. It's about country clubs and douchebags and all these, these kind of people that he deals with. And that's what these owners, they rub elbows. That's what they do. So to them, it's just another thing. It's almost like a trophy room. Like, look, I own the Phoenix Suns, or I own the Golden State Warriors, or I own the LA Dodgers, but there's certain, Cuban wanted to win. This guy wants to win. Joe Lacob wants to win. The Niners, that's why it pisses me off every time I hear somebody say Jed just doesn't want to win. He does want to win. They're just doing a financial reset because every once in a while you got to do that. But Jed burns to win a Super Bowl. I know it for a fact. And so when people say, oh, they're taking the year off, the Niners aren't taking the fucking year off. Are you insane? I think Kyle Shanahan's taking a year off. I think John Lynch, who could be in a TV booth making $20 million, was taking a year off.
Think Brock Purdy's taking a year off? Hey, guys, we're taking a year off. In sports? No, you're not. Now, if you're a team that is constantly rebuilding and worries about the finances, which is about probably 80 to 90% of the owners who treat it like a business, and I've told you this time and time again, I've spoken to owners both on and off the air who have told me it's like one of my other 50 businesses, and they say it straight-faced because they're not about winning. There's a handful of them, and you can tell the Dodgers are about winning all the time. I'm sorry, you hate them. They are. You can question the Giants being about winning all the time because they're not. Because Larry Bear, when they say they're going to sell 10% of the team, and the first thing out of his mouth is we're going to improve the suites and we're going to improve the look of the stadium in the front of Willie Mays Plaza, which attracts more people, which attracts more money. They're about money. The star of the Giants team is Oracle Park, and they've made no secret about that. And that's fine. They're $30 million under the tax line. They're a major market team that doesn't act like it. The Cubs are the same way. The Ricketts family is super cheap. Like you can count on both hands how many teams want to win. You know, the Dallas Mavericks don't anymore. Mike Cuban did. But there are certain owners, you can just tell by the way they do things. Joe Lacob wants to win at all costs. He loves having the team. I'm sure he loves rubbing elbows and saying that he's the owner of the Golden State Warriors, but he wants to win because it's embarrassing for him not to, because his friends are like, well, you haven't won you won that championship, but where's your next one? Joe has a burning desire to win. A lot of owners do, but most don't. And you heard Matt Eshbia say that. He said, look, I'm not the worst owner because Stephen A just isn't looking at the facts. And so here's this guy saying, look at all these things I'm doing. And they're not because of finances. And a lot of owners wouldn't do it. So anyway, I just thought it was a great answer. And it reiterates the fact that he just said, look, these are not financially viable things to be doing, but I want to win. And that's all you want your owner to say. And at the end of the day, he is going to have to win at some point, or people are going to get pissed off. But for a guy to go on the air and just look at the fact that they did not succeed after trading for Kevin Durant and somehow saying that this guy's the worst owner in sports and comparing him to Donald Sterling, love of God, man. Just ridiculous. Just a ridiculous statement. Just stupid. And ESPN's like, this is awesome. This is great. And it's like, oh my God. And believe me, I'm not Bob Costas. I'm not sitting here on some pedestal. I say stupid stuff. I do lists. I do this. I do that. But for a guy to say things like that about an owner that's hardly had a chance to get his feet under him, and then the owner explains, well, these are all the things I'm doing, it goes beyond winning. Now, you've got to win. But the fact that these teams, and it's just not talked about enough, which is why I bring this up, do all these different things in the community to make the community better and try to do all the things that they possibly can. I mean, this dude's going to spend money. Bradley Beal screwed the Suns. They would have gotten Jimmy Butler. You understand that, right? Like, it was done. The Suns offered Jimmy an extension. He was going to take the extension, and Bradley Beal said, I ain't going to Miami. Would he have been a really good owner if he had done that? Because the Jimmy Butler trade, if the Warriors don't make that trade and Phoenix does, they might have switched places. So he doesn't even take that into account. And again, you don't care about the Suns, but I'm just saying the fine line between all this stuff is, what if Jimmy Butler's a member of the Phoenix Suns right now? Bradley Beal had said yes, and that's all it would have taken. And the Warriors are sitting there going, what do we do? I don't know what trade they would have made. I don't even know if they would have. But if they wouldn't have made the Jimmy Butler trade, and now Joe Lacob and the Warriors are brilliant, right? Mike Dunleavy's brilliant. If Bradley Beal says, I'll go to Miami, he's a member of the Phoenix Suns. And they're probably still in the playoffs, and the Warriors are probably sitting home. That's the fine line. Anyway, I'm done with it. I don't mean to go off on that big of a tangent on that kind of a thing, but I thought it was a tremendous answer, and I thought it was a mature answer because I would not have ever said that. I'd have been cursing at Stephen A up there. I'd have been like, this guy's a dumbass. And that would have been the nicest thing I would have said about him up there. So anyway, that's why that guy's successful. All right, what else do I have here? I do have a sweet, clean family friend. Oh, the last of the mocks. The draft is Thursday. I will be on the air for the draft on Thursday. By the way, I also am doing a post game for the Warriors tomorrow night. So when you and I depart for the day today, and I allow you and you allow yourself, you can leave at any time, by the way, to enjoy your Saturday, do remember that right after the final whistle in Houston for game one, tomorrow we'll be jumping right back on the air right here on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure that you jump in for that. A couple of things on the Niners. Where is that thing? I don't have to have it up there, but the 33rd team did another mock draft, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if I have it up here. I might have not put it up here. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. But their latest pick, it doesn't matter. Oh, is this it? No, that's not it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can just tell you about it. So the latest mock draft, I saw it from the 33rd team this morning, which is a bunch of former GMs and things like that. It's a good website. But their latest mock first-round pick to the Niners at 11 is Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan. And this is just a pet peeve of mine. So you're going to pay this kid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. He was great as a junior when they won the national championship. He's a big guy. He's like for a corner. He's like 6'1", 195. Really good instincts, really nice player, has great character from what everybody says. But here would be the problem, and I'm not picking a guy like this at number 11 because I'm just not going to take the chance. You don't have to run a 4.2. You don't have to be Deion Sanders to be corner. I mean, Richard Sherman was taken in the 5th round out of Stanford, and he ran like a 4.55, mid 4.5s, which would knock you down on most boards. But if I'm going to pay millions of dollars to a guy and you're going to play corner, I got to have you run a 40-yard dash. And so what's happened is the kid didn't run a 40 at the combine because he said he had some sort of an injury. Then he does every other drill at Michigan's pro day, but he doesn't run a 40, which tells me that you're not very fast. But I need to know how fast. Like if you're running a 4.6 and you're going to play corner, that's probably a deal breaker for me at number 11. Like I might take in the 2nd or 3rd round, but that's probably a deal breaker for me. So I need to know. You need to run a 40 for me. And I would take the kid aside. If I was John Lynch and I was at Michigan's pro day, I'd say, look, man, I need you to run a 40 or I can't take you at 11. Like, I just wouldn't do that. And so clearly, and I understand what the agent is doing. The agent is hiding his kid because the thing he does the worst is run a 40. Now, I know I can watch tape and I can see Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar Jackson never ran a 40. He looks like a 4.3 guy to me. So I can deal with that and live with that. And I understand. He went 32nd, by the way. It wasn't because he didn't run a 40. But anyway, this guy won't run a 40. Will Johnson will not run a 40. And so if you run a 4.5, you can still be in the first round. So my fear is that this kid's going to run like a 4.6 and he's going to drop like a rock. So if I'm going to invest millions of dollars in this guy and he won't compete, that's the biggest problem I have. I hate this about the combine now, and I don't like to use the word hate. I really dislike this about the combine. It really pisses me off when it's their pro day. Like, just do all the drills so that I can make an educated decision. You're making it really difficult on me to take you at 11. Now, will I take you? I think their 2nd round pick is at 43. If you're sitting around at 43, then you're too good of a value to pick to pass up. But at number 11, and knowing that John Lynch has put this much value on the draft to try to resurrect this football team, I can't take this dude at 11 who won't run a 40, which tells me two things. A, he's slow, which is a problem to me. And B, he won't friggin' compete. I want you to do all the drills. Like, I want the guy who's at the combine, and this is the way it used to be, who says, I'm better than you. I'm faster than you. I'm stronger than you. Even if I'm not, this is what I do. But you can look at the tape and I'm on the football field and I want to play. Because any competitor would tell his agent, sorry, man, I'm going to run it. And it is what it is. Like, I understand if it's going to drop me, but if they look at this more than they look at my tape, then fine. But I want to know, because I want you to compete. I want you to want to compete. And here's the thing too. All these guys, the minute that their college eligibility or they announce or whatever, then they go to Phoenix or California or Florida or whatever, and they're working constantly to get ready for the NFL draft. It's like military, it's like training. That's all it is. So they're there for months. And one of the things they work on, and all the things they actually work on, are, well, first the interviews and stuff off the field, but it's all about combine drills, all about it. I know guys who train these guys. So it's the answers to the test. So you're doing shuttles and 40s and bench presses and all these different things and agility drills and all these different things every day, because that the combine is everything. And beyond the tape, then you get these great numbers and you improve yourself and all these different things. So now one of the main components, especially if you're a receiver or a defensive back, is the 40-yard dash. So he's been working on getting faster, and he's still not fast enough to run a 40. He doesn't feel good enough about it. And his agent thinks it's going to knock him down the board. So if you think it's going to knock you down the board, then I'm going to do it for you, because I'm not taking a guy who doesn't want to compete. I don't want to take a guy who's been working on this particular thing as a defensive back. He's been working and working and working for months on this, and he still can't run a time that he doesn't think is going to, or that the agent doesn't think is going to knock him down the board. I'm not taking him. I can't. And then here's the second thing, because 33rd team was like, well, they don't have Jarius Ward. They got to get a corner. They took Renardo Green in the 2nd round, man. Like, if I take a dude in the 2nd round, he's got to start for me in his 2nd year. And Renardo Green had a good year last year. I'm not saying he was what 𝐿 was in 2023 when the Niners went to the Super Bowl. He wasn't. But one of the things that John Lynch has to do, because they put themselves in this situation by not signing free agents, it's not who they lost in the offseason. I've said that time and time again. They lost Dre Greenlaw. That's the only major loss, I think. I didn't love the Jordan Mason trade. But other than that, either guys were on the roster that had already replaced them, like Malik Mustafa has, Talanoa Hufanga. There's guys who have replaced guys. Renardo Green is going to replace Charvarius Ward. Now, do they need a third corner so that when, and I'm not a Troy Brown guy who they got from the Seahawks who's been injured a lot. Demo goes into the slot on third down, so they need another outside corner. I understand that. But they don't need one more than they need a defensive tackle. They have nobody on the defensive line. They don't need that. They don't need a corner more than they need an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. I mean, this is from Pro Football Focus, and the numbers by these guys, these are the Niners starters right now. Look at the numbers by these guys. So a blue is a good thing. Let's just look on the defensive end or defensive side. There's Bosa right there with a 91 on the defensive line. Look at the rest of the guys. 49.6. Think about that if you got that as a grade in high school. 49.6, fail. 47.6, fail. Drake Jackson doesn't even have a grade because he's been hurt so much. That's your defensive line. You got Nick Bosa, who's great, two guys failing miserably in the inside, and a guy who doesn't even have a grade because he's hurt so much. Let's go to the next level. You got Fred Warner. Awesome. 89.2. That's a great number. You got a 66.4 next to him and a special teamer who they got from Tennessee at 60.2. What? So you go to the outside corners. They're almost at a 70. Again, it's not great. Green and Lenore are in the high 60s. I think they're better players than that. Mustafa, everybody's, Mustafa, 63.9 is not great, but I think he's going to be better. And I don't trust J.R. Brown. But then look at the offensive line. Okay, you got Trent Williams, great, but he's 37. Pooney is great on the right side. McKivitz is not as bad as you think. I think they're going to get a right tackle, move him inside. I've said that again and again and again. McCaffrey at 71.3 was never himself. Purdy is an 82.4, and he played not up to his standard last year, so he's fine, and he's going to get paid. But my whole point is really looking at the defense. I don't need a corner. I don't need a corner. I'd like one, but I don't need one. The defensive line, other than Bosa, is graded at 49.6, projected starter, 49.6, 47.6, and no grade. You think you need some defensive linemen? Yeah. So anyway, it's almost like they don't have any defensive linemen. If we had to play a game, and they don't, if you had to play a game right now, the 49ers would have the worst defensive line maybe in football. And that's with Bosa, with a 91 grade, which is incredibly high. Those other three guys are terrible. Terrible. So when we're looking at this draft, and it's a good thing that the defensive line has a lot of depth to it, at least according to the experts, because they need it. And they've got to go there again and again and again in this draft, because that's what they've got. Look at that. I mean, that's brutal. That is a brutal defensive line. So anyway, there's that. Last mocks, random stuff. We haven't done a ton of random stuff today, but on Saturdays, I try to do a quick short show for like an hour, and we're already $1.12 into this thing. So I might be wrapping it up with the Sweet, Clean, Family-Friendly CABOOSE pills to her in a second. And yes, it's sophomore. I'm not going to lie to you. It's sophomore. Let's see. What else do we got here? Just making sure. Exactly. You hit it right in the head. Bebop Jones. I love that, by the way. Gifford is a guy they got from Tennessee because the only thing they signed in this offseason was special teams players. And he played a little bit. I think he played like 200 snaps on defense for Tennessee because they had so many injuries in their linebacking core last year. He stinks. He's a special team guy. Yeah, they don't have anybody. I mean, their front seven is like Warner, Bosa, and hello? Anybody? Anyone? Like, they're front seven. They got to go front seven, and front seven again. Maybe an offensive lineman, then front seven. I mean, and then somebody's telling me that, somebody's projecting a 4.7 40 corner to me from Michigan. And I'm like, no, dude won't run a 40. I'm not picking him. Like, let him slide out of the first round. At some point, NFL teams have to say, look, if you don't work out, you think I'm going to pay you millions of dollars and you won't work out at all, and you're just going to sit around because your agent tells you to sit around and hide? Heck with that. I'm not doing that. That's bullshit. I'm not giving you millions of dollars because you run a 4.7 40 and you're too afraid to run one. Compete. Like, run a 40. Run one right now. Like, if I was John Lynch, I'd walk up to Will Johnson at Michigan's Pro Day and say, can you run a 40 right now? I got a guy with a watch right here. I need a 40, man, or I can't pick you at 11. And if you run a 4.6, whatever, I'm gonna assume that you run like a 4.6 or a 4.7 because you won't run. And you've been running for months. You've been working on a 40. Like if you're a 4.5 guy, I can still take you there because your tape is that good. But if you run a 4.6, 4.7, I can't take it. And I'm assuming because your agent won't let you run one, then that's what you run. So I'm not picking you at 11. That's insane. Plus, I just took Renardo Green in the second round. He's got to play. That's where the Niners have put themselves. Mustafa's got to play. Renardo Green's got to play. You know, these guys have got to play. You're not going to get 8 starters out of the draft. It's insane. Anyway, all right, done ranting about that. This is good. All right, I'll tell you right now, and I have one of these up at John Lund Unleashed. I'm doing these shorts with the Caboose pistols. I don't know if people are liking them or not, but this was Brian Windhorst. You may have seen this. I am sophomoric. I'm not going to lie. I laughed when I heard this. I don't know if Brian Windhorst caught this. I'm sure the producers laughed because that's just what it was. So, for example, I'll give you a great example. All right, just to defend myself real quick. I'm going to play this Logan Webb thing again if you just jumped in. So here's Logan, and he hears a fart and he can't get over it, right?
Farts are always funny.
Okay, hang on. Okay, let's do it again.
Bumgarner, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿 and Conrad Shaw for at least 4 outings with.
I'm sorry.
At least 4 outings with 10 strikeouts and no walks. What does it mean to you to be in that list with those guys?
I'm sorry, guys. Farts are always funny. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so with that as the backdrop, all right, and I didn't play the Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose Pistol Open, so hang on a second. But as that as the backdrop, right, as, you know, everybody's sophomoric. I mean, Logan Webb's this stud pitcher for the Giants and everything, but someone, you know, there's a fart, or whether that was a real fart or a background noise or whatever, or fake one, then, you know, everybody's laughing, right? So that's the backdrop for the next sophomore thing I'm going to show you.
John Lund Unleashed presents the Caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old Caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say Caboose?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there. Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
All right. So as I said, the backdrop of Logan Webb laughing at a fart or a fart noise and not being able to answer the question of how does it feel to be in the same discussion as Madison Bumgarner with your 12 strikeouts tonight. And he's just like, just think about farts, and they're always funny, which they are to men and boys, to males. But so here, with that as kind of the backdrop as of being sophomoric and establishing that and admitting that, here is Brian Windhorst talking about the Lakers in the playoffs.
Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves can fit together beautifully and be a competitive group, and they can share each other's load.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate the way he said that. I'm sophomoric. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sophomoric.
Beautifully and be a competitive group, and they can share each other's load.
I just wonder when those kind of things happen, because I've been on those sets and everybody behind the scenes is cracking up. Like everybody behind the scenes is cracking up. And so what's hard about it is, and I'll give Windhorst a ton of credit, and Malika Andrews probably didn't even know. Like she's a mature woman, and she's probably like, what? Like everyone's laughing and everybody behind the scenes is laughing, and other people on the set are snickering, and there's camera guys, you know, that they're looking at. They're going, he said load. And they're laughing, and it's like Beavis and Butthead, and she's going, what? Because women aren't like that. They're like, what? Like that's what my wife all the time. Like there'll be something that'll be said. I'll be listening to something, watching something or whatever, and I'll start chuckling, and she's like, what? And I'm like, nothing. Like nothing. She's like, what? Is this something sophomoric, or what did he like? She doesn't even pick up on it. But the whole rest, you know, but whoever were the guys that were on that set were laughing. But Malika Andrews was with Brian Windhorst when he said that, and she's like, what? All the cameramen are laughing, and the producer behind the scenes is laughing, and Windhorst is trying to keep it in because he knows what he just said. So anyway, this is how it is. Anyway, there's your Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose pistol. I saw that yesterday, and you know when you say stuff like that, I've said all the time, and you know it right away, because what's going to happen is it's going to be something that's like, it's not going to be distributed out or anything, but like they're going to play that for Windhorst, like they're going to text it to him, like the producers. Like after the thing, the producers are going to text this to him, right? Like
fit together beautifully and be a competitive group, and they can share each other's load.
So that's what I mean. People are going to like text him that, and he kept it together. But you know, in the back of his mind, he's like, dang it, that's going to live forever, and that's going to go, and people are going to make memes of it and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, there you go. That is your Sweet Clean family friendly, and very caboose pistol-ish and sophomoric. Caboose pistol. There you go. Yeah, I bet Lake Andrews didn't even. She was like, "What? What do you say?" And then the rest of the guys are like, let's see what else we got here. Anything else today that we need to talk about before? Oh, I did say good morning. Okay, I want to make sure. Sometimes I don't remember, but I like to make sure that I say good morning to everyone that I see on the board. And if I didn't see, I'll make sure I hit you up next time. J49, I don't know if I said good morning, but I think I did. But anyway, great to see everybody today. Thanks for hanging on a Saturday. We usually just do a quick, tight show, but there was a lot of stuff to go over today. So again, episode 120, Logan Webb wasted 3. That's my tone of my wife calling me. Yeah, she should know better. Episode 120, Webb wasted 12 strikeouts in 6 innings. 3 guys are carrying the Giants right now, and offensively, they've got to get more pitching because these 3 guys, Mike Yastrzemski's up and down. I don't know if I showed you this, but it was like, it's just so funny. This is just not going to continue. And I love that he's off to the start. I don't even think I popped this up today, even though I think I put it in all the stuff. Yeah, like Flores is going to keep doing that. Like, come on, man. So Flores is carrying him right now. Up and down, Mike Yastrzemski is carrying him right now. And _Lee is really, really good. I think _Lee is going to keep doing this. Not to this, maybe to this extent, but he's really good. I'm not disparaging anybody. It's just, it's not like I keep saying this. It's not the way that the Giants normally win games, and I just don't think it's sustainable. Wade Jr., they got to do something with him. Landenrup and Verlander, 2 big starts the next 2 days. Golden State and Houston, I gave you some of the keys. Talked about rebounding again. The Warriors getting some open threes on the Rockets switches. Watch for that. The Suns owner, I thought he had a great response to Screamin' A and explaining what an owner or what he thinks an owner should be, and I agree with him. Last mocks, I don't like the Will Johnson pick. A lot of people mocking the Michigan corner to the Niners. Run a 40, dude. Let's see what you got before I give you millions of dollars. Random stuff happens throughout the show in the Caboose Pistol. A couple of things. Logan Webb and Brian Windhorst. Yes, sophomoric. I'm not going to deny that, but it doesn't mean it's not funny. Doesn't mean that at all. All right, what else do we got? I think that is it for today. I hope that everybody has a tremendous day. I didn't miss any supers there. Very, very good. Thanks for hanging out on this Saturday. Remember, a couple of different things before you go. Make sure that you're subscribing. Bay Area Sports Collective, which is where I am, Tom Tolbert, Polymax Particles with Creative Tony, and we've added Rod Brooks and Rod Brooks Show Quality Hang, which is cool, and we're adding stuff all the time, so make sure that you go over there and you get those alerts on and subscribe. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. If you're watching this morning on X at John Lund Radio, just migrate over here, give us a like. We appreciate it, and click right on there. And make sure you subscribe. Not only that, but you get those alerts on as well. And please, on today's show, hit us with the thumbs up, hit us with the like. That helps the algorithm for people to find us, so we appreciate that as well. And do remember, I will be back for the post-game show for the Warriors tomorrow. So we're not done for the weekend. I'll be back on Sunday for that. Monday through Friday, we're here 8 a.m. Usually go a couple hours every day. So 8 a.m. to around 10 a.m. or so, however long we need. Monday through Friday. Saturdays, we start around 10. I was a little bit late today. Sorry about that. But we go 10 o'clock a.m. on Saturdays. And like I said, this Sunday, because of the Warriors, we'll do post-game for all Warriors playoff games. So there you go. And as Papa J always says, please like and subscribe to both channels. I don't think I missed anything. Oh, by the way, I didn't see. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Nikta, Tebow. Very cool, man. Very nice to see you. Very nice. If I mispronounced, I apologize. Nobody likes to be mispronounced, and I probably just blew that one. All right, everybody have a great day. Appreciate it. Get those alerts on. We'll send some more stuff out today. And everyone have a wonderful Saturday. We'll talk to you tomorrow for the Warriors post-game show of game number 1 on.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!